Greetings, geeks worldwide. Welcome to another episode of the Geek Side podcast. We are on episode number 5. Welcome back to the Rodeo. I'm excited to be back with you guys tonight. It's Darth Sparrow speaking to you live and in color. Or, I don't know, that just didn't turn out as well as I wanted to, but whatever. I'm excited to be back with the whole crew tonight. The lovely Miss Christina, the magnificent Darren, and we're gonna be starting the show off tonight by talking about reboots because, you know, as we know, in our lifetime, reboot movies are an ever prevalent thing popping out of Hollywood. Seems like every month or so we get news of another franchise or popular movie being remade. Of course, what's spawning this conversation tonight is the fact that it just came out last week, and I mean, it came out big. It came out swinging out of the gates. I know. Yep, there it is. Now, I know Derry got to see it. Christina hasn't seen it, but since it's a remake and I mean, I think it's pretty close to the source material. I'm not sure. We're not going to spoil too much if you've seen the original or read the book. But Darren, man, I'm telling you, man. For me, I talk about this all the time. I'm a huge fan of the horror genre, the Halloween season. For me, it was a really nice kickoff to, we'll say, the official start of the Halloween season. To me, I'm like, as soon as they stick a horror movie in the theater, we're getting it started. You know what I mean? We're doing it right. And I got to go see it with some good friends. My buddy who I actually go see horror movies with. My wife is not a fan of horror films, so if I want to go see something scary, I got to go see it with him. Or I see it by myself, which I'm kind of like, yeah, you know, I don't like doing that in case I get scared and I gotta, you know, punch somebody in the arm. But your thoughts, initial thoughts, man, about the film.
Well, I went and saw it with my wife didn't go either. She doesn't particularly like horror movies, but she'll go if I'm like really into it. But she didn't go this time, so it was me, a couple of my brothers-in-law, and my sister-in-law and my 2 nieces and one of my nephews. So it was a family affair. But I mean, like I was saying before, I have a long history with this book. Like, I've read this book every year, and I'm literally not exaggerating. Every year from the age of 13, I'm 41 now. Yeah. And I just finished reading it again like a week before the film came out. Yeah. So every summer I have read this book. I know this book cover to cover. I know everything about this book, everything that's going to happen. I was surprised. I was surprised by a lot of things that they did in this film, and I really enjoyed it. There were some moments that literally, like, that were just brilliant, that were just jump scares that I was not expecting. Like, literally, I'll tell everybody, not even to spoil it, the scene with the projector,
oh my God,
garage, wow, I was not expecting it. And I think that's probably the reason why I enjoyed it, because they had some scenes in there just I wasn't expecting. And again, from someone who knows the book as well as I do, I'm glad they were able to put things in there that I wouldn't have thought to put in there, and they worked.
One of the things that I really like, Darren, is I don't feel like this movie just completely relied on just jump scares. I feel like there was a lot of like eerie things going on that really were successful as well.
Yeah, I love the fact that everything about the town seemed off, like which isolated the kids more, which made you enjoy, which made their scenes more palpable. Like you felt you felt part of the group, because everything else in the town, from the adults to everything else, like it incorporated in the book. It's like everybody seemed off. Everybody seemed like they weren't really there. And it came through. And I think that, again, that's one of the things I really enjoyed about it. I said the only thing I didn't really enjoy about the movie was one character, and that's Mike Hanlon. Okay. Now, again, known from the book, and I try not to be a purist, but one of the things that made Mike special is Mike's the only black kid in this town. Yeah. And he's like the kind of the keeper of information. Like, he's the one who learns about the town because his father encouraged him to learn about the town. He kind of said, hey, if you're going to live here, learn about where you live, learn about the people here, and things like that. And he had maybe he didn't have all the answers, but at least he had the information they needed to get to the answers. Mm-hmm. And in the movie, they gave that to Ben. Yeah. So it almost like they made Mike kind of the victim in a lot of stuff. And that just didn't, and that bothered me because he seemed to be just, he just seemed to be in the background more, and it didn't necessarily it made those moments with him almost seem, like, I just put it out there. It almost looked like he was, like he had to be rescued by the white kids. Yeah. And that kind of that bummed me out a little bit. Not enough to take me out of the film, but it did kind of bother me a little bit.
Yeah, they definitely had him as a kind of a I don't know, like a side character. Like they didn't do too much for you to get invested in the character of Mike. So that was kind of I can understand what you're saying there. It was kind of all the scenes were just kind of whatever.
That's a disappointing trend in Hollywood, I've been noticing.
Yeah. Other than that, brilliant movie.
Yeah, I can't say enough about Skarsgård's performance as Pennywise. He was magically haunting. I mean, creepy as all get out, man. Creepy as hell watching that guy be Pennywise. Just the physicality that he brought to the role was intense. It was crazy.
Yeah, and that's and the one of the things that I kept telling people, like when you look at him, beyond the fact that he looks creepy, there's also still an innocence that you can kind of see. And it might be because of how young Skarsgård is, I guess in real life, just physically. Like he looks almost as innocent as the kids. So it almost, his scenes with them almost play on kind of the same level. But you know that there's still that menace there, and there's still that kind of demon and monster behind it. But you can kind of tell, like looking at just that innocence in the facial features and in the smile, you can see how people could be disarmed by him.
Sure.
Unless you're meeting hate clowns.
Exactly, as the character. Yeah. You know, there are moments when maybe you want a balloon.
I did. I wanted one all evening long.
Exactly. Did you hear about in Pennsylvania the kids tying the red balloons to the sewer grates?
Yes.
Oh, it was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant.
Christine is not happy.
That's some viral marketing right there.
Yeah. I was bummed. I really wanted to go to the It House, and I didn't get a chance to go, but I heard it was crazy to get in there anyways.
Yeah, I kept hearing from people. Like I had a friend of mine who lives out there. He took a couple of pictures, but yeah, I'd love to see the Nebo house.
Yeah. Christina.
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I would love to. Yeah. I'm not going to see the look. And Brian's clowns are horrible. So I have to wait to see it with somebody. The original one scared the crap out of me. But I saw it when I was really young. Yeah, that's really all I have. The commercials already scared me. I'm not sure. I'm going to. I might have to write that it.
Yeah. Oh my god. But 123 million opening weekend. It's the most all-time successful movie opening. Is that right?
Yeah, it's so it beat out by a wide margin. I think the champion before that was Paranormal Activity 3, came in at 52 million on its opening weekend, and it looks like it kind of doubled that.
Right. Remakes. This is definitely a good example of a successful remake. And I pose the question to you guys. We there's obviously good remakes, bad remakes. My question was, I wanted to know your guys' thoughts on what do you feel is another favorite or successful reboots or remakes?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess if I were to go kind of back to maybe like an early film like from my childhood. Even not even necessarily my childhood. Like I probably shouldn't have watched it when I was that age, but the fact that the Al Pacino Scarface is a remake of a 1930s film. So I think that I would consider that a successful remake to the point where no one remembers the original because that's the one that they remember.
Yeah. Christina, what did you come up with for your favorite remake?
Probably, I mentioned it before, probably the new Planet of the Apes. I mean, that's the best I can come up with because most remakes I don't care for. But it just seems like an all-around well-done movie. And I'm not talking about the Tim Burton one. That one was an abomination.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting a bit of an echo for some reason. But anyway, I think the two that came to my mind, I couldn't nail it down to two. My two that I came up with were Casino Royale and Bram Stoker's. No, yeah. I've never seen Royale, but I heard it's more of a kind of a comedy.
Yeah, it's a Woody Allen. It's a Woody Allen film. So yeah, it was a comedy and not a particularly funny one, but it was a comedy.
Yeah. Christina, I know you're a huge fan of Bram Stoker's Dracula. I feel like there was so much. They managed to imbibe the horror with a lot of really sexy stuff in a weird kind of creepy way, but it still works. It was still just a beautifully directed, visually stunning film. I can imagine how the original, besides being a piece of Dracula, how you consider that a better movie than the remake. Yeah.
I mean, this sexy definitely helps.
I always kind of looked at Bram Stoker's Dracula as, there's the original Dracula is what they could do at the time, and Bram Stoker's Dracula is what the book was, is the book itself. Like, I'm not taking anything away from the Bela Lugosi, but Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula, that's Bram Stoker's Dracula. I mean, if any other kind of adaptation had the balls to use, Bram Stoker's Dracula, they executed on that one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Darren, what did you come up with for one of your worst remakes?
Oh God, there's such a long list, and they're usually always horror films. Like, I don't know. I mean, I would definitely kind of put and I love Jackie Earle Haley, but the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, it was so bad. There was no joy in it. And you don't particularly want joy in a horror film, but you want there to at least be a break in the tension so you actually care about the characters.
Yeah.
Including Freddy Krueger.
Right.
None of it. Absolutely none. I couldn't care. I honestly don't remember who was in that movie enough to care whether or not they lived or died.
Yeah. I don't know how they went so wrong in that movie, man. It was like it had so much potential. I mean, we were all chomping at the bit for a remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, and it was just, I don't know, man. It was a shit show from beginning to end.
I think because they took themselves too seriously. Like they were really just trying to, we're going to do Nightmare on Elm Street and we're going to take all the jokes out and it's going to be straight horror. And that's not what anyone went in, wanting. So you kind of got what you expected. It was a shit show. It was horrible.
Darren, I don't recall. Was Freddy a pedophile in the original Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't remember if that was something they added or because I was like, I don't know.
No, I mean he was, but it was the fact that it was he was a pedophile who murdered kids. I mean that they got. I think it was just the fact that you would never call Freddy Krueger charming, but even the original, but there was still an aspect of the character that, even though it scared and repulsed you, you still were interested in seeing more of.
Yeah, absolutely. They're actually playing the first one in the theater, in one of my local theaters tomorrow, and I really want to go see it, just because, especially because my wife's never seen it. I'm kind of like slowly getting her into horror a little bit. Like, it has to be like a certain level of horror. If it's too over the top, she can't handle it. But I think she's watched enough like Friday the 13th to be okay with Freddy. So I think I'm gonna take her to see it tomorrow, which will be really exciting. Christina, what would you say is your top pick for bad reboots or remakes?
Honestly, probably The Hobbit.
Really?
Like, I like the live action Hobbit. The problem is they tried to fit too much stuff into the movie. The 3 movies, which did not need to be 3 movies. The cartoon was just so good. And it was concise. And it had everything perfect about the book in that cartoon.
It's the Rankin Bass? Not Rankin Bass. It was
it's the same guy, I think, who did Last Unicorn, the Flight of Dragons movie. I think it was the same artist. But it was really great. And then why redo it? I think it goes for the Narnia series.
Yeah, I kind of tapped out on Narnia after the second one. Like, I honestly continue to be surprised whenever I hear another one has been made, because I'm like, is anyone actually going to see them, or is this just like, and apparently, like, they're still pumping money into these films, so it's like there's still like big budgets and effects, and I'm like, is this, like, who's going to see this?
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like, I would. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, buddy. I was gonna totally forgot. I was gonna say. Go ahead. You finish your thought before I go on.
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, if I had to also pick like another one, if I had to pick like one that I liked and one that I didn't, it would probably be like weird. Like the one I really couldn't stand. Like, I wasn't even a particularly huge fan of the first Total Recall,
right?
But the Colin Farrell one was almost unwatchable.
It was unwatchable. So was RoboCop.
I mean, yeah, same here.
Well, I forgot about this.
Like, but one that I actually like was, as far as a remake, is I like the Lindsay Lohan Parent Trap. It's weird. It's weirdly sweet, and it's probably like the only Lindsay Lohan film I've ever enjoyed.
What? Mean Girls is awesome.
I'll be honest with you, I honestly don't remember actually ever seeing Mean Girls, and I think I have. I just don't think I remember it.
It's so good.
May have to revisit it because I love Tina Fey, but I just honestly don't think I've ever sat and watched that film. I think it's happened. I think it's been on in a room I've been in, and I just happened to have been in while it was there. I just don't remember it.
Darren, I did not expect you were going to say a Lindsay Lohan movie.
Well, I'm full of surprises.
Yes, you are. My number one pick for worst reboot, and it's gonna be shocking for you guys to hear this, because I love a lot of his other stuff, was definitely the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka.
Doesn't shock me at all. Not at all surprised.
Not understand that he's just like Johnny Depp is known for these quirky, like weird characters. It's just too weird.
Yeah.
And what's really funny, what surprised me is he has like a 75 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I don't know. I think because a lot of people, maybe that was their Willy Wonka, and they either haven't seen or don't remember the Gene Wilder version. But you can't top Gene Wilder.
Oh, I love him
as Willy Wonka. I just even from the premise, I didn't think that there was worth making another Willy Wonka film. And honestly, as soon as they said Tim Burton, I was like, it's going to be Johnny Depp. Because Tim Burton knows 3 actors, and one of them is Helena Bonham Carter, and the other one is Johnny Depp, and the third one is until he passed Christopher Lee. So it was no doubt those three people were going to be in that movie.
That's I wanted to like it so much and I just couldn't. It's just too freaking bizarre, man.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that didn't need to be remade.
No, exactly.
Most of our childhood movies don't need to be remade.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have a performance that's just so pitch perfect that it makes absolutely no sense to try and alter or change it, and that's one of them. So
yeah, couldn't agree more, man. Is there any remakes that haven't been made that are coming out that you guys are looking forward to or excited about?
Well, not excited about, but just baffled by is that they are in fact making another remake of Scarface. Is it just kind of going down that thread? Right. I don't understand it. I don't understand how you would do that film again, but you know, it's happening.
That movie is so iconic. Why would you remake it? I don't understand.
Yeah, that's so relevant.
Yeah. And then you got another one. I don't know yet. I honestly don't know anyone that's involved other than the fact that it's happening. It's like if it were Brian if Brian De Palma were involved, then maybe I'd be slightly intrigued, but all I know is that it's happening. And that's all I know.
Yeah.
But then you got, there's an American Werewolf in London remake happening.
Yeah.
And it's actually being made by John Landis and Max Landis. So father and son are both working on a new version of American Werewolf in London. And take that for what it is.
It's weird that I know Max in real life. So when I heard you say that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
You know Max in real life?
Yeah. Met him a couple times.
You're so, Christina, why are you always so cool? You just come up with something. I don't even know where to go from there.
I don't know him well. I just met him a couple times.
Yeah. Speaking of reboots, speaking of things we're excited about, we just got the first look at David Harbour's portrayal of Hellboy today. And I know especially Christina's flipping out a little bit about it. Christina, thoughts on David Harbour?
He looks incredible. I was shocked to the point of my jaw literally dropped. Because for a moment, I thought it might still be Ron Perlman. Because he still has that face, a strong face, embodying the character. But he looks so much closer to Mike Mignola's drawing. That I think, and I feel horrible saying this, I think I actually like his version better. And I was nervous to see the movie, but he looks exactly like Hellboy.
Yeah, absolutely. I was not expecting to like it so much right off the bat, but just that first shot, I was just blown away. It's so good. I don't know. He looks more realistic. I don't know how to explain it.
It looks just like right out of the comics.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. Like he definitely like just from the jawline alone, he looks like that. He looks like Mike Mignola's vision of Hellboy. So just even like the scars and the cuts and like the healed scars all over him, just like that all of those like little tiny things could just enhance just like enhance how awesome he looks. So I'm in. That kind of sealed it for me. That was just like, okay, I'm definitely gonna give this a look.
Yeah, it looks really great.
The more I see about that movie, the more excited I'm getting.
Yeah.
Also on the Hellboy front, they have cast Ben Damio, right?
It's Daniel Day Kim as the actor.
Yeah.
They cast as him, and I'm really stoked about it. He's not Japanese, he's Korean, but still Asian. And one of my favorite actors, so I'm really excited about it.
I'm really excited that they actually listened to, I guess we'll say, the fan response of Ed Skrein initially being cast as him, and I'm glad they actually went the right way and casted somebody they should have casted. And I think I think he's going to look great on screen along with with David Harbour there. He's going to look awesome, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Christina, what else are you excited about as far as the upcoming slate of comic book and geek movies? Is there any other movies you're really looking forward to?
I mean, besides Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see the new Marvel movies coming out for sure. Hellboy is what I'm really focusing on now, especially now that I've seen what David Harbour looks like. It's always been one of my favorite comic books, so I'm really excited about that. I'm also really excited about seeing Wonder Woman 2 because I broke my DC. I can't remember if I mentioned that last time or not. No, I just watched it. I broke my DC ban and I watched Wonder Woman and I absolutely loved it.
Oh my god, I was gonna ask you about that because I was waiting to hear your feedback about that. So please tell me about your thoughts about Wonder Woman.
I loved it. I got very teary-eyed a couple of moments. I don't know if it's because I'm a woman and I identify with some stuff in it, but it was really well done. The only thing I could gripe about it really was I don't think a romance was needed, but I understand why it was there. It didn't bother me that it was there. It wasn't like it was shoehorned in necessarily. And also Ares felt really lazy to me. I don't know how else to explain it. He didn't feel right. I don't know if it's because I see Lupin and nobody else, but it was Ares just looked clumsy and I didn't buy it. But that was my only complaint. The rest of the movie was fantastic.
Yeah. I totally agree with you on that. It's like once you saw him, that you spent the rest of the movie, especially you hear his voice, you're like, I'm really not scared of Lupin right now. It's so bad. It was really, really bad. I don't understand, but
well, I mean, I'm with you on the Ares thing. Like honestly, I think it's the only thing that I was able to kind of predict from the beginning when they introduced him. I was just like, okay, yeah, that's him. But again, everything else like really worked, and I'm glad you saw it because I really enjoyed it, like to the point where I saw it like multiple times.
Yeah, amazing. Which brings us to another one of our news topics this evening. Of course, they're in talks for the Wonder Woman sequel. And of course, why would they even think about making the Wonder Woman sequel without Patty Jenkins at the helm? I don't even know if that was an actual thought, but thankfully they are definitely going to be paying that lady a lot more money than what they paid her for the first film, which was minuscule in comparison to what the film has made. I don't know. To me, I still think they need to pay her more, but I'm glad that she's going to be coming back because obviously her vision was part of the big reason I think why that film was so successful in itself. So it's going to be amazing to see her back on the screen or back behind the screen, we'll say anyways. Darren, what are your thoughts on the issue with Patty Jenkins and being that she got paid so little to begin with?
Well, I mean, I think it definitely goes into a pay for play type deal where she was hired to do a job. So it wasn't necessarily kind of like a cachet behind it or anything like that. So I think is once she proved herself, then yeah, you start she's in the position now where she should be asking for that type of money. And the fact that it's happening for her absolutely makes sense because she took that movie and made it into something that now Warner Brothers can look to and say, hey, you know what? This is where we should be going. And it doesn't mean they're going to go there, but it definitely looks like that's where they should be going. So I think I think anything that she gets past this is absolutely deserved because she put in the work for it. And frankly, in 2017, it shouldn't even be a conversation that she gets paid that she should be getting paid with. There's certain things, I'm sorry, but at this point in time should just not be history making. Sure. especially where we're at as a society.
I totally agree, man. Do you think it was a little bit of a business play on her end, kind of waiting to, I guess we'll say, sign of the dotted line? Some people theorize that she was maybe waiting to kind of see the final numbers from the film to kind of like put those final negotiations in.
I would. I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
I think that's great strategy. I think the easiest thing she could have done was say, "Hey, you know what? I love this experience. Bring me back to do the next one," and not negotiate at all. But I think she probably has a brilliant team behind her, and what they did was told her the truth. Like, look, hold back, see what's good, see what happens on the back end, see what happens from the merchandising, see what the total gross is worldwide, and then we put you in a position where you negotiate not only for your salary but for the back end, because that's where all the money is. So I mean, that's so I definitely understand where she. I mean, if I were her, I would have done the same thing. But then, frankly, if I were her, I probably would have, like, my first things would have been like, yes, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. I'll do it. So, but she was brilliant for it.
Totally agree, man. Couldn't agree more. I think it was as successful as Wonder Woman was. They just need to. They should have just, here, we'll pay you whatever you want. Just get back in here and make us another movie.
Yes, yes, in the rarefied air of Hollywood, that should definitely be the way things work. Not in the real world, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, they don't. Yeah. But I think we should just get her to direct all the DC movies.
Not a bad idea, frankly. Like, honestly, it's really not.
Right. Put her in the Justice League, Batman, all of it. We'll get all these problems fixed right away.
I mean, maybe just kind of take the vision, take the visual style away from Zack Snyder,
right?
And just kind of build something new. And I think that'll work. I would love to. I would love to see. I mean, I'm not would love. I want to see James Wan's version, like vision for Aquaman,
right?
Just to see how that can work going forward.
Yeah, it leaves something to be said that one of DC's most successful films was when they got away from this whole Zack Snyder thing. It's like, look, I get it. Like, his vision is great to a certain extent. I don't think everything has to be Zack Snyder.
Yeah,
it's not necessary. It's not even necessarily what the fans want, even the general public wants. I don't think. I think it's just, they kind of got caught up in this, this snowball. You know what I mean? You just kept doing the same crap over and over again, and it's like, we don't. Completely different person, different vision, and look at how it worked, man.
Yeah.
Total garbage, but whatever. I've kind of lost my fanboyness for Zack Snyder, but after two bad interpretations of Superman, I just can't stick by it anymore. I'm still holding out for a good one. Yeah, but anyways, I'm excited to see definitely the Wonder Woman sequel. Big Star Wars news, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this on the last episode, but in relation to episode 9, the original director was, how do they like to put it now, let go. we don't want to put fired. We just
creative differences.
Yeah. And now, and to the chagrin of some fans, to the sheer joy of some others, they have brought back a very familiar face to help pen and direct the final Star Wars film of the new saga, and that, of course, is none other than J.J. Abrams. Personally, I am not one of the people who obviously hated up and down on episode 7. I'm a Star Wars fan through and through. I loved episode 7. I'm not going to be stupid enough to say that there wasn't similarities to the original, to episode 4, but I still loved it so much for what it was in its own respects. So for me, I think I'm excited about the idea of somebody coming back to Star Wars that has dealt with Star Wars already, someone who kind of knows the importance of it and what it means to a lot of people, but also kind of somebody, I guess we'll say, who's already used to working with Disney/Lucasfilm and kind of knows what they want. Because granted, we have what we want in a Star Wars film. They have what they want in a Star Wars film, which is obviously the end all be all, we'll say. And of course, every director, rightly so, wants to kind of put their own spin and their own signature on something that they're spending so much time working on. So I can get why, there might be rifts and issues with directors and Lucasfilm butting heads, and which I'm sure is kind of what happened with Colin Trevorrow. But I think it's a good move. Darren, what do you think about JJ coming back to direct episode 9?
I think you pretty much laid it out. I mean, you've got the familiarity, you've got the person who's if anything, JJ helped them break the story for the new trilogy when pre-Force Awakens. So I'm sure he sat down with Kathleen Kennedy and the team over at Lucasfilm and said, hey, this is kind of where we should be going with Star Wars. And I think Ryan Johnson and Colin Trevorrow were kind of put in the position of, this is where we're going, right to it. And I think maybe Trevorrow is just kind of like, look, I can't, maybe I can't write to this, but and kind of moved aside. I think they've made, I think for some reason, the people who are not able to get along with Kathleen Kennedy are the ones that are going. And frankly, JJ can work with her, and I have absolutely no problem with it. Like, even the people who kind of talked about how it's a little bit of a rehash episode 4.
Sure.
If anything, it was fun. Like, I hadn't had from the previous trilogy, I hadn't had fun at a Star Wars film.
Exactly.
Since since then. And then not only was The Force Awakens fun, but then Rogue One came along and it was fun and really good. So it's not a question. I don't think it's necessarily a question of, how they executed. I think they executed well. And I think he'll be able to come in and kind of close out that vision in another way that's fun. And that's fun and enjoyable for people.
Yeah.
Christina, my other champion of Star Wars in my world, what are your thoughts on JJ taking the helm on episode 9?
I am really happy that he is, because he is a fan, and fans cherish and take care of something that they're handed to basically take over and create. He's adding to something that, if I was given this, I don't know what I would do, because that's it's my love, and I would be terrified to take it. I think he did a fantastic job with 7. There are issues here and there with it, but nothing that takes me out of it. Not like the prequels, which I have an issue. I have a hard time watching them again. Episode 1 is the only one I can rewatch and not be fully annoyed the whole time. and to remark on it being a quote unquote rehash of episode 4, episode 1 is also. It's circular storytelling, and each episode it's a saga. So they're going to have very similar. It's on a track. So when anybody argues that,
points, we'll say.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. It also happens a lot of stories in general. So that part doesn't really bother me at all. It's not like it was literally the same movie, because it wasn't. But I think JJ is going to do great, and I think it's really important we also have a director who has already worked with the team.
Yes.
Staying on for the last film, especially with Carrie's death. I think that it's really important to have someone who worked with her, respects her, and can now mold the story as best they can without her.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. Now, here's my question, and you kind of made a comment about that on the Twitters earlier today. Do you really think that Kylo Ren is a bitch?
I don't. I like Kylo.
Thank you.
I like Kylo a lot, actually. I was responding to somebody else who said that on Twitter, and I was like, really? Because Anakin's kind of the whiniest.
Yes.
But I actually like Kylo because he's a complicated character. He's not a black and white. He's not for sure a villain. You're not sure if he has a chance to turn back to the light side. He's a little complicated. And he throws tantrums. but that's because he's conflicted, and literally every Skywalker protagonist has thrown a tantrum at some point.
Yes.
He also
Skywalker curse.
Yeah, he also took a crossbow bolt to the frickin' midsection. He's not a bitch.
What do people not get about that, Christina? I don't think you understand.
They make a point the whole movie that crossbow is super powerful, and he gets shot by it, and he's like, ugh. I'm gonna still go fight. You're like, oh my god!
Kidney, and he takes one of the kidney, and all he does is like punch himself a few times to like suck it up. We're doing this.
Yeah. So I'm like, how in the universe is Kylo a bitch?
Exactly. I don't know. Whatever.
But I like him.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where his story goes. Definitely.
Definitely. I'm. Like I said, I'm really excited that JJ's coming back, and I think it'll be a nice bookend to the. I mean, you can't deny that he kind of helped to kick off the resurgence of Star Wars, motion pictures, and there's always going to be something to be said about him having a huge involvement in that, whether you hate it, love it. I mean, I have friends who I just like. I'm cool with everybody having their own opinion about movies. It blows my mind when I talk about to diehard Star Wars fans who really just loathe Episode 7. I'm like, more than some of the prequel movies? Come on, no way it was that bad. There's no way. Okay, if you didn't like it as much as Return of the Jedi or Empire, okay, fine. I agree.
It's hard to beat Empire. Empire's amazing.
Yeah. Yes. Darren, your favorite Star Wars episode movie, sir?
My favorite Star Wars episode movie would actually yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Empire. I mean, it just I can't necessarily find anything bad with it, from start to finish. You got the best lines, you got the best moments, you got some of the most amazing action. Yeah, I mean, come on. I think that's the movie where everyone kind of had their moment. And it still contains one of my favorite scenes of all time, which is the chase through the asteroid belt.
Yes.
I mean, it's just brilliant. I can watch that over and over again, just that scene.
And the music.
Yes, exactly.
I love it too, man. On the note of Empire, and of course, the big moment about revealing who Luke's father actually is. The gentleman who was in that suit for the original trilogy, of course, was none other than Mr. David Prowse. And if you've been to a convention in the last 30 years, you've probably seen him. If there's Star Wars characters there, I'm pretty sure he was the second Star Wars celebrity that I ever met. Carrie Fisher was the first, and David Prowse was the second.
Lucky bastard.
Yeah. And the funny story, I don't think I've ever shared this on air, but the funny story, when I met David Prowse, I had already met him and gotten my autograph, and I happened to be dressed as your what you considered the most whiny character in Star Wars, Christina. I was dressed as Anakin, and they had the tables really closely set up to each other. It wasn't like they do at most conventions where they give them this nice big wall where they put all the celebrities to do autographs at. They were in these very small 6 foot nicely covered banquet tables, and there was a small space between him and Jeremy Bulloch, who was Boba Fett, obviously. And so I was now getting my autograph from Jeremy Bulloch, and I had to squeeze myself in between the space that was between Vader's table and Boba Fett's table. Now, I'm not a small guy. I don't really squeeze into places very well, especially when it's a space maybe that big, maybe slightly bigger for me to go in sideways. And so the back of my tabards, Christina, actually caught a stack of David Prowse's pictures and kind of knocked him over. And he just had this look. I'm like, oh my God, Darth Vader is about to force choke right now. he's like, what are you doing, man? You're knocking all over my pictures here. I was like, I'm really sorry. I don't even know what to say. But that was my highlight moment that I remember for the first time meeting David Prowse. But sadly, as those things go, Mr. Prowse, who is is getting up there in age, has recently had some health problems, and so just recently on his Twitter he has announced that at the end of this year he will be retiring in a sense. So we won't be seeing him at conventions anymore, which is a bummer, but I can understand. And the guy's paid his dues a lot. He's he's definitely paid a lot of service to the fans of Star Wars, and a lot of people have had the opportunity to meet him. And I mean, it's a really cool, even though he's not that voice, we know he was the guy in the suit, and so to think somebody that big in the Star Wars universe who's had such an impact on every single facet of Star Wars was just always a cool experience to get to meet him. So as much as it's going to suck for him to not be around at conventions anymore, and if you haven't met him and he's still going to be at a con before the year's out, go meet the guy. He's really cool. But we would definitely wish him the best in his retirement from the magical land of Star Wars fandom. I don't know if Christine, if you've ever met David, have you?
No. From what I understand, I don't think he was invited to Star Wars Celebration, and I don't know about all the drama because I never met him. I just know that there's drama surrounding him.
Yes.
But he wasn't, and I would have done that. I would have tried to meet him if he would have been at Celebration. I can't talk correctly. My focus was Mark Hamill when I was there, making sure I saw him. Right. But no, I haven't had a chance to. Plenty of my friends have gotten to meet him, which I'm pretty jealous, because he embodies the sass of Vader. It's the body movement. So yeah.
I mean, the first time I ever saw the 501st, it was actually they were escorting him to the stage for a panel, and he was right at the front with the guy who was dressed up as Vader there, and I was like, "That's the coolest thing ever. I want to do that with Darren, have you met David Prowse at any conventions or seen him?
I have seen David Prowse at a convention. I haven't actually. I didn't actually meet him personally, but I'm with you. Like you're on set with him in the Vader suit, and you don't have James Earl Jones's voice pumped in when you're acting. So you got Mark and Carrie and Harrison, like they're acting with David. So he does kind of have that. He does and should have that cachet of being an actor on set. Like I think he's a little bit. I mean, and I've watched behind the scenes stuff where you kind of hear his voice, emoting those scenes, for reference. So I think he's earned a little bit more than just the guy in the suit at this point. So even though you don't hear his voice in the final product, they had to act with someone, and it was him.
I think that there is I think there's a documentary about it on Netflix. Now that you mention it, I forget what it's called. It might be called The Man in the Suit, but it is about David Prowse as Darth Vader. And I really wish I would have looked that up sooner. It just dawned on me that I saw that, and it's in my queue on Netflix to watch.
Your to watch queue.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely one of the Star Wars people that gets to be more appreciated, but
it is called I Am Your Father.
Yes.
Yes. Thankfully, I have his autograph on my wall. Autographed Darth Vader with another Vader autographed it as well. If I can get a James Earl Jones on there one day, we'll call it. Gotta figure out how to make that happen. But so moving on from Star Wars talk, let's talk about. I know some people are going to be mad about this, and not that it's a big deal, but you guys know I'm a Marvel guy through and through, and not away from the amazing movie that Wonder Woman was, but it looks like one of our favorite friendly neighborhood webheads is actually going to surpass the take of Wonder Woman as reigning movie of this year.
Wow.
Spider-Man Homecoming, which actually kind of released late in some of the worldwide markets, like in China, which is a huge market, had a ridiculous take at the box office. and it's gonna pass up Wonder Woman's final take by, I can't remember exactly how it was, maybe like 20, 30 million. Something. It was pretty close, but Darren, surprising, not surprising.
Well, I mean, not necessarily surprising. I think it's I think, you know, Spider-Man Homecoming was a great film. I think what's really surprising people more is you've got a reboot kind of versus even though it's based on an established character, an original film.
Yeah.
So I mean, you kind of like you have your first outing, but I think part of the issue is pitting them against each other in the first place.
Sure.
I mean, absolutely. You kind of have, it's like you have an established audience
right
for a Spider-Man film. So I mean, it's already gonna, you know, you already got your Spider-Man, people are going to go see it. And the fact that it got positive reviews and positive buzz from audiences means that more people were going to build on that already existing audience.
Sure.
I think as redemptive as the Spider-Man take is, I think honestly, just personally, I think Wonder Woman has the better overall, you know, box office story. Okay. So I think it had so many different things that it had to overcome.
Yeah.
I mean, you had like whole countries, like I can't remember who it was, but you had like a country. There was like 2 countries like banning the film because Gal Gadot is Israeli. So, I mean, you know, taking like I'm sorry, like no one was banning Spider-Man Homecoming because Tom Holland is British. So you kind of have, you don't necessarily have the same story. So kind of comparing the two past a numbers point is almost kind of takes away from both films and their success, especially in my opinion for Wonder Woman. It takes a little. I think it takes away from the success of the film.
Christina, I saw you shaking your head a little there. What's going on?
No, I agree with a lot what Darren said. I was thinking that overall, I was trying to balance out in my head which movie I actually liked better. And that's actually hard for me because I really love Spider-Man. I've been waiting for a good Spider-Man movie. Not that I didn't like the first 2 with Tobey, but this one felt actually like Spider-Man. But Wonder Woman was so important. Like, yeah, I grew up with Xena and I had She-Ra stuff when I was growing up, but like this was different. This was something that DC won me back a little bit. And it's saying a lot because they've pushed me very far out of not being a fan of theirs anymore. I don't even cosplay their characters anymore. So they've won me back a little bit. And I'm like, hey, as long as you keep up this good work, I'll see your stuff, except for Suicide Squad 2 and the Joker movies. I won't see that because it's garbage. But if you make Wonder Woman 2 and if you maybe get a couple of directors to work on the Justice League movies together and make them good, okay. I still don't have high hopes for those movies. But yeah, like what Darren said, it kind of takes away from both of them when you compare the numbers, especially considering even the audiences that were able to watch it. Right. Or someone like me who wasn't even able to watch it till, it came out on Amazon. but yeah, I don't know. They're both, I enjoy them both a lot. I would probably watch Spider-Man more than I would watch Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would definitely watch the first half of Wonder Woman like over and over again. That first half of that movie was phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. Just speaking of Spider-Man alone, not comparing the two. It's funny that it's actually still not the highest grossing Spider-Man movie ever. That title goes to, I don't know how in the hell or why, Spider-Man 3.
What?
Good old emo Spider-Man.
It's so bad.
Had a final worldwide box office total of 890 million.
Oh my god, that movie was horseshit.
Spider-Man Homecoming is at 823, and Wonder Woman comes in at 816. Like you said, here's what I find really funny, Darren, being that this now, when comparing the Spider-Man movies to each other and saying that Spider-Man 3 is still the highest grossing, it really cracks me up that when we think about it in this relationship, that Spider-Man Homecoming did so well. And if you recall, going back to when we first heard about another Spider-Man reboot, how even most of us on the Cape's crew and we're
Yeah.
saying how over we were hearing the story of Peter Parker and how we needed to just do something else. But yeah, boom, there's the numbers. We loved it.
Oh yeah,
It was good.
Movie, like Christina said, I could watch it over and over again. We don't have to talk about the fact that I'm biased because Iron Man's in it. Has nothing to do with that. Okay, it was a super fun movie, and like Christina said, it was just it's such a unique take, and I feel like even though we've seen the Peter Parker story now 3 times, it was such a unique story. It had so many things that made it such a standout from the other stories that were similar. What do you think about that, Darren?
Well, I mean, I'm with you. I was one of the first people that was just kind of like, look, I wasn't even impressed by the trailers.
Yeah.
I said, look, it's like the Staten Island ferry scene. I was just like, so they're just giving me the train scene from Spider-Man 2.
It's the subway, but with a boat.
Yeah, because I was like, is there? I honestly didn't think there was anything in the film that could surprise or impress me.
Right.
But they managed to do it with the story.
Yes.
And that's what really good, because visually, it was fun to watch, but but honestly, there wasn't anything that just kind of amazed me as far as the visuals go, because I've seen like 5 other Spider-Man movies at this point. I said, well, and almost 5.5 if you count Civil War. So I've seen like 5.5 Spider-Man movies already. They honestly didn't really surprise me with anything visually, but it was a great story.
Yeah,
it was
the villain was fantastic.
Oh God, Michael Keaton was so amazing as the Vulture. I mean, he was the only villain, like, I think, in a Marvel film that actually made sense for both being a villain and how he was a villain.
Yes.
Like, his villain journey actually made sense, especially in the sense that he didn't want anybody to know what he was doing. He had he's like, if he could have kept on doing what he was doing, if nobody had found out. And I think that was brilliant.
Yeah. Yep. Could not agree more, my friend. I'm very excited for that. I'm still one of those wacky purists I'm not into this whole digital downloading movie things yet. I just can't do it yet. I still got to have like my Blu-ray. So I'm super excited for that movie to come out on Blu-ray, which should be in a couple months. I'll have that thing on repeat for about the first month that I own it.
Yeah, well, I'm all about the digital. I'm a let me watch it wherever I am. Let me let me download it to a device. So if I get bored, like sitting in a waiting room or a doctor's office, I can just go ahead and watch it.
DMV.
Yeah,
let's watch some Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
Yes. Good times, my friends. Good times, and I'm excited to say that we are not done with our Marvel movies for this year. We still got Thor Ragnarok.
Yes.
Thor.
Thor is my favorite. So
yes.
He's my favorite Avenger.
Yes. I love this whole relationship between him and the Hulk that they're going to be exploring a little more, because kind of like they're just kind of like the buddy cop, like big brother duo of the Avengers. And anytime you have them on screen together, it's pretty freaking awesome. Not even from just the destruction standpoint that those two guys cause, but just their relationship with each other, and how they're always razzing on each other. I think it's going to be great. So somebody was complaining about the fact that they're making the Hulk more vocal this time around. Do you guys have an issue with that? I don't think so.
No, because he gets smarter. He evolves in the comics. Why wouldn't he be more vocal?
Right.
Read a comic book.
I mean, besides that, he's been, from what it looks like, he's been Hulk for so long that at some point he would have had to find a way to communicate.
Yeah.
Or at some point to grow. So it's not like it's not like he's either monosyllabic or just being reciting Shakespeare. He's just he's talking the way someone who had learned to talk has talked. And I like the fact that I like the play between the two of them where Thor is like literally just outright like lying to Hulk because he knows neither Hulk nor Banner will remember what happened once they transform. So just his whole thing was he's still kind of bragging, even though it looks like he's kind of getting his ass kicked.
Like, we had a fight. I beat you badly.
Exactly.
That doesn't sound right. He's like, nothing could happen. Sorry. Suck it up. Yeah. So it's gonna be so good. I can't wait.
It looks like a really fun ride.
Yes. And I think that's what a Thor movie needed. It needed to be fun.
Yeah.
Take a note from Guardians. Make it fun.
Yes. You can still make it cosmic and crazy and fun. Doesn't have to be all serious.
Exactly. So you got this whole canvas to play with. Just play. You've got it.
Yeah. I'm the closer we get to the Infinity War, I'm just slowly losing my brain from excitement.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it was mind blowing enough the first time we saw the Avengers on screen together and the Guardians, and then we got Civil War. We had more characters in the mix, and now it's just I don't know. I can't even explain it. And you quit thinking about it, then I get really impatient.
And they're doing a beautiful job of doing it too. That's the thing.
Yes. Thankfully, the Russo brothers know how to incorporate all these big, hard-hitting, big personality characters, and they still allow them to not only work in a big group together, but still shine in all their own ways. And I think that's what those guys have really done well. I mean, we saw it in Civil War, and it's just going to be freaking nuts.
Yeah.
I'm not a spoiler guy. I don't like watching the spoilers, and I'm like, I'm so anxious about it. I keep looking at stuff. I'm like, I want to know what's going on.
Yep, I'm doing that with Star Wars. It's really hard to stay away from them because I need to know.
I think honestly because they didn't give us an Infinity War trailer, we don't have any.
I saw it.
I still have it. Unless it's an official trailer.
It is an official trailer. They showed it at Comic-Con.
I'm just saying, if I'm, if it's on, if Marvel Entertainment or Marvel's YouTube page post it up there, I'll go ahead and watch it. But this one things we're like,
they're probably not going to release that one, which sucks because it was. I almost peed my pants. It was cool. It was really cool.
And that's what I'm saying. Is we don't have those visuals to just kind of hold on to yet. I'd say as a group, many of us individually have it, but collectively we don't have it. So our minds continue to race with what could be there, what we could be seeing, or what could come next. So give us a trailer.
Do you guys think we're gonna get our first big trailer with Thor or Star Wars?
Ooh, probably Thor, because Thor comes out first, doesn't it?
Yeah, it comes out in November.
Yeah, but Thor also comes out next month, unless they tease it big. I would honestly look at travel. If everybody converges or moves from Atlanta to LA and are going to be on an episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live at any point, then expect a trailer. That says I'd be looking at bookings.
Yes.
Seeing who's where.
I'm dying for the Last Jedi trailer. Bated breath, hardcore.
Why have we not got that either?
We will.
Friday, yes.
It's close. It's so close. Yes. Anyways, my friends. All right, Darren, talk to us, man, about your final thought for the week, sir.
Okay, my final thought is actually okay. So, I've taken a bullet for the collective group.
Yes.
And I've dived back into the world of Marvel Comics.
Darren, I appreciate your selfless acts, your martyrdom every week.
Because I love Marvel, but I won't do it.
Someone has to do it.
I know.
I read Secret Empire Omega.
Okay, this is the new story, right? Kind of, sort of.
This is the end of. This is really just kind of like the end of Secret Empire, and I enjoyed it. I mean, also written by Nick Spencer, who wrote the entire series, which I didn't enjoy, but this one was actually really good. It was kind of like it was a treatise on what it means to be Captain America.
Yeah.
So you have you got you got Steve Rogers and you got Hydra Steve, and they're, you know, talking to each other. And that's kind of the bulk of the issue, is the both of them kind of hashing out their ideologies,
Okay.
which on one hand just ticks me off, because now it means there's Hydra Steve in the world.
Yeah.
And now we just have two Steve Rogers in the world. But also at the same time, like, you know, I'm just saying, because here's my problem. Let's say, so when Hydra Steve finally escapes from prison, what's his name going to be? Is he going to be Unsteve? is he reverse Steve? Is he the anti-Steve? Right, Nega Steve. Right, exactly. Like, what are we going to be calling? What are we going to be calling him? But that aside, it was actually a really well written story. And I also read Deadpool number 36, and Deadpool is calling him Stevel Rogers.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's amazing. I almost said we should call him Stevel.
Yes. Stevel.
Guys, I have Deadpool brain.
Which I think is amazing. But as kind of like a closeout of the storyline, it's basically everything that probably should have been written into the actual storyline.
Okay. Thank you again for reading that for us.
Hey, you know what? I do what I can. I'm a giver.
Yes. Darren, you're amazing, man. Christina, this is why you shouldn't lose sleep, because then you get Deadpool brain. Final thought for the week, my friend.
Well, I started playing Destiny, and Destiny 2, obviously, and it's really good. It's great. The first Destiny, I kind of enjoyed it. There were things about it that were good. But Destiny 2 fixed everything that was wrong with 1. Actually had a story. I giggle at the voice acting. It's really well done. They fixed a lot of the way the mods work. It's just overall, it's a really good game, and I'm playing it every day. So yeah, if you're wondering if it's worth picking up, yes, pick it up. Also finished The Gunslinger, which is the first book in the Dark Tower series. Mm-hmm. It was weird as fuck, but the last chapter of that book, it's amazing. It makes that whole book just like worth getting through the weird shit that you didn't quite understand. It's really good. So I'm going to keep up reading that book series. I won't see the movie because I've heard it's terrible, but I like the books a lot. And then Outlander season 3, episode 1 came out, and it was really good.
Sweet. Now, if you thought the ending of the Gunslinger was weird, the beginning of the next book is even weirder.
Oh man. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Interesting. Let's see, guys. My final thought for the week. I didn't get a chance to read anything because I've been preparing to put an event together for our local 501st Legion South Valley squad here, and Saturday night I will get to go to our local Philharmonic that will be doing a Music of John Williams concert, which the last one I got to go to was absolutely stunning. It's just so, if you're a fan of any of John Williams' movies, and there's so many of them, I mean, like any movie that has John Williams music is what I mean. It's so much just geek-tastic brain food getting to hear the music being played live by a full orchestra. Like I can't even really put it into words. Really.
It's emotional.
It is. It's very emotional. Thank you, Christina. Yeah,
it really is.
If you're like us, you start crying in the middle of it. So, yeah. But the last time I got to do this, which was probably about 8 or 9 years ago, I want to say, they actually worked in a bit where when they played the Imperial March, they had me actually go on stage, take the baton from the director, and direct the orchestra while they played the Imperial March.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yes, Christina's face that she just made, because you guys can't see it, was my face when they told me that was going to happen. And so, probably one of the coolest things I've ever got to do as Darth Vader. I mean, I will say even cooler than when I got to be one of the official Vaders for Lucasfilm for the release of the Force Unleashed video game. I still think it's cooler. It was so cool directing an orchestra while they played the Imperial March. kind of lost my shit, and good thing I had a helmet on, because you would have seen a mixture of like stupid grin plastered on my face with the tears coming down.
Like, why is Vader crying?
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything that cool again for this one, but either way, I still get to be Darth Vader while people are arriving, and then I get to sit and enjoy the show with some fellow Star Wars fans and friends. So it'll be a pretty exciting Saturday evening. So I'll give you guys a full report
That sounds awesome.
on our next show. And then, of course, Sunday I'm going to Hogwarts again. They're doing a big Hogwarts Harry Potter fan meetup. And if you've been to anything like that at Disneyland, like what are the ones they do at Disneyland, Christina, like Bats Day and Gallifrey Day and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's basically just a bunch of like
Dapper Day.
like-minded Uber nerds who like to dress up and all decide to go to the park at the same time. And just
I want to go.
Yes. We need you there. We'll have a grand time drinking butterbeer and, pointing wands at each other. So it's gonna be a busy weekend, but that's a good spot to wrap up, my friends. Thank you for tuning in once again. Mr. Darren, generally, sir, tell our friends where they can find you on the Twitter spheres.
You can find me at Superpowered Fan on the Twitter. And
yes. And of course on the GWW.com, where Darren is like so fast at posting stuff about news and on his channel and show as well. Darren, we appreciate that, man, because we share these awesome geek things on our show, and for those who don't listen, they still got to hear about all this stuff, man. So luckily you're always, I don't know if you're just like have your word pad or whatever, your word ready to go and just type stuff up as soon as you hear it, man. But
I usually do, and that's the weirdest thing. I usually have like 5 or 6 things already like kind of pre-written, and then I'll just be like, oh, that happened.
Yes, go. Fastest guns in the West. Darren, thank you, man. It's always good chatting with you. Miss Christina, you tell everybody where they can find you on the Twitters.
You can find me at Christina Tellefson. Well, not at Christina Tellefson. Christina Tellefson, but it's Booba Fett 83.
Yes, the Booba Fett.
Sometimes it's easy to look up my last name. For some reason, people have the really hard time spelling Booba Fett, and I don't understand why. But Booba Fett 83. It's Boob.
Yes.
Fett 83. It's Boba Fett, but with boobs.
Yes. You have one of the greatest Twitter names ever, my friend. My friend, as always, it's a true joy having you on the show and talking to us about geek stuff. My friends, please continue to check us out, like we said, at thegww.com for all the latest and greatest in the geek world. Please check us out on Twitter at _geek_side_pod, where we're always posting all kinds of random stuff. I can't even explain some of the stuff we post up there, but we just love to keep interacting with all of you. So please keep talking to us, sending us your love, tweeting us random things that we'll love and enjoy, because that's what we do. We love and enjoy when you guys talk to us. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at Darth Sparrow. We look forward to chatting with you guys next week, when who knows what the hell else we'll be talking about in the geek world and community, but we're going to be talking about it. So please join us again next week. And as always, friends, stay classy, stay sexy. We'll see you later, San Diego, and we'll be catching you on the geek side.
All right.